God damn, and we're ready. What is up, squad fam? How's everybody doing? Oh dearie. It's a beautiful time to be alive. Hope everyone can actually hear me. I spent about 4 hours this morning dealing with audio mixing and everything else. So hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, well then we're just fucked, didn't we? So there's not a lot we can really do about that. It's a bit late to be changing anything. So on that note, hello everyone and welcome to the NW Weekly Recap stream. It's technically a podcast, but we're not formatting it like a podcast, so say what you will. We're only going to be going at this for probably about 30, maybe 45 minutes. Depends on how long we can really rant for, G. So we'll just have to see, won't we?
We'll do our best. We'll do our best.
Exactly. So, alrighty. We'll be starting off the stream talking about the EIC matches of the week. And then we'll essentially be stringing this into the background. Is the music still on? Oh shit, the music's still on. Sorry about that, guys. my bad.
I had to close the stream. My internet's not capable of watching the stream.
There you go. I've turned the music off now. Sorry. I have it so I couldn't hear it, so that's the problem. So I couldn't. So I didn't know that it was playing through the stream. That's my bad. But anyways, yeah. So we're gonna start off going over the matches of this week on EIC, and then we're gonna be speaking about the next week's matches, and then we're going to be going on to a segment that I'm going to be calling Ban Watch, where we're going to be going over all of the all of the bans that have been dished out over the last week, which I think is going to be an exciting segment. Do you agree, G? You looking forward to that one?
Big names, big regiments. We're going through them all.
Oh, beautiful it is. Absolutely beautiful. So, on that note, what we'll do is, let me just quickly have a look. And so I need to bring the EIC sheet up. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm not prepared at all. Andy Fox is live. I've got to head out. Nice. Righty. So let's get into the first set of matches on the first match week, eh? So,
yep.
Starting out from the very top at Group A, we had an 8-2 from 15th against the 3PP. I'd say that's, to be honest with you, kind of expected.
Yeah, they played pretty well.
Yeah, the 3PP have kind of been out of the tournament game for a little while now, to be honest. So I think we kind of, they put up a good fight, to be fair. But a bit more than we would have expected. So, yeah, fair enough. Not really much more to say about that one, is there, really?
No, not really.
Right, on to the next one. We've got the first 10-0 of the day. We've got 96Y 10-0ing the 25th. 25th coming in as a regiment that basically nobody had ever heard of. I'd never heard of them, at least. I know a couple of people in there, such as the second-in-command Hellstaff, who was a part of the 18E for quite a long time. But other than that, no, I never heard of any of them.
Yeah, it was always going to be a win for the 96Y. They're a bit too solid. 25th are a bit too new.
Yeah. Right, and this brings us on to the first, what I would consider an upset of the tournament so far, G, and that is the Connaught Rangers, Gatz's Turkish Legion, against the 16th. The 16th pulled away a 7-3 win, which was extremely surprising to me.
Yeah, because Gatz has been, Gatz and the CR are quite a competitive regiment, whereas the 16th have been more casually focused, I guess, for quite some time now. But yeah, they did really well. 7-3, huge.
That is huge, actually. And I can already come out and say that the match was squeaky clean as well in terms of rosters. I didn't find a single person on either of the rosters that should have been in that weren't in the that shouldn't have been in the match. Sorry. So there you go. That's a plus. Well done, guys. You are the only match of the tournament that I've checked so far, which has not broken any of the roster rules. And we're going to be coming to that. We're going to be coming to that later. That's going to be a lovely segment. But right, on to the next one. We have 92nd against the Priabras. Right, I remember speaking to you about this before, actually, GI. You didn't really know about the history of the Priabras, did you? Or didn't really
I knew
know
they were
where
an old
came
regiment.
from?
I thought it was a new regiment that had just taken their name, but you said something about them being the old Priabras?
Well, from what I gather, a bunch of them are the old Priabras, but whether or not they've just taken the name and there's only like a couple of people in there that are from the old Priabras, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. But as far as I'm aware, I guess they could kind of be a reform. I'm not too sure. That's something I'd kind of have to ask them.
Though.
It's good to have them come back, yeah.
There's not that many Russian-speaking regiments anymore, so it's nice to see another one pop up.
Oh no, definitely. And the Priabras, for those of you in chat that don't know who they were, Priabras were one of the 3 or 4 like sort of original big Russian-speaking regiments back in the day. I can't remember if it was them or another regiment that originally merged with the 17th JR. I can't quite remember. I'm sure someone will correct me later on that, but I'm not too sure. It's been so long.
Was the main Russian regiment like 5 years ago, was it?
Yeah, something like that, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
so the timelines do kind of match up, don't they? And this brings us on. Actually, no, we're not going to go over the 45E and 18th yet for the reason that we spoke about earlier, GI. We're going to be coming to them last for a very specific reason. It was an upset. But the problem is because of roster issues, that upset comes with an asterisk, which is what we're going to have to discuss later and sort of come to a conclusion as to what we're actually going to be doing with this. So we got that to look forward to. And let's have a look. So now we have 55th against the 7PP/25P, 25PP. Honestly, I expected this to be a bit closer. The 7PP and the 25PP have been doing a lot of practice and they've been playing for quite a while. I mean, they played against the 27th before we stopped playing a month or so ago, a good few times, and they looked fairly solid, to be honest with you. But whether or not some of those players are all like double regs or whatever not, I'm not too sure, really.
I think the 55th have a few too many good players, solid players to really risk losing that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I'd have expected something like that.
Fair enough. And then next match-up we had the 17PP versus the 45th. Now I ref this one.
Cracker of a match.
Yes, it was incredibly one-sided. There were a few rounds where the 17PP did go in up by a good 4 or 5 people. But like within about 2 seconds, the 45th would be up by like 2, so they would just die in droves essentially.
I'm a little surprised by the 9-1, to be honest. I mean, we've played the 17PP and they were pretty good before.
I think the problem with the 17PP, and I'm not throwing any shade at them, I suppose technically I am, but unintentionally, I don't mean anything by it. But before the tournament started, a lot of their members that were playing with them were I have to admit, most of them were double reggers. If you go and have a look at their Steam group, like if I go and bring it up on my other screen at the moment, for example, I can even tell you how many people I have that are friends in that Steam group, and that will give you a sort of idea. 11. And I don't know that many Polish people, so they've definitely got quite a fair few double reggers in there, but obviously they can't take part in EIC, so I'm guessing that's probably where that scoreline's come from.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's power to them.
If you use stronger players as invites in practice matches, you obviously fall down a little bit when it comes to the actual competitive matches.
Yep, definitely agree with that. 33rd versus 19th. Now, I was actually on the server watching this, and it was a pretty good match, actually. You had the usual El Presidente fucking banter coming from the other side, and the 33rd, just stalwart as always, didn't respond to any of it.
Classic.
The good old classic 19th banter. We will have our revenge. Yes, Dams, you will. But, it was a pretty good match, to be honest. It was fairly close. 19th actually took more rounds in melee than I thought they would. Although from what I've been seeing, the 19th have actually been doing quite a lot of practice and putting the work in. So fair enough. Although
they're a pretty decent regiment now. They've got a decent future. They recruited some decent people as well. So
Mhm.
not quite a pushover anymore.
Mm.
And also, most importantly, they are NWPC winners.
Ah, yes, the most important tournament of the.
Which is huge.
Right, and then next up we have 77Y versus 2E Gren. Honestly, I'd say this result is way more one-sided than I ever thought it would be. Now, the 2E Gren, and Dams, I know you're in the chat, I'm not throwing, I don't mean to throw shade at you, but the 2E Gren was never known for being like one of the better regiments, not even in the French scene, to be honest with you. But they were always very stable, and they always took, and they were just always there, to be honest with you. They were always stable, they were always putting up good results. But yeah, this was a lot more one-sided than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting maybe like a 7-3, maybe a 6-4. A 9-1 is a lot different than what I was expecting.
Absolutely. And you got to remember as well, the 77Y is led by the self-proclaimed best leader in NW, Gaz.
Yes.
With his sheer leading power, that 9-1 was expected. Doesn't matter who he's leading.
Right then, so next one we have 71st versus 5TES KGR. Now this was extremely one-sided, every part of the match was very one-sided. Now the 5TES came through as a pretty underdog regiment that, to be honest with you, you'd never see them taking part in any tournaments like this, which is another reason why I always valued EIC so highly, because we always managed to get in regiments that didn't usually take part in things like EIC, NWL, and whatnot. And the 5TS have been around for a good while, from what I'm aware. They just didn't really have a thread up on FSC or anything like that. So there's a little bit more one-sided than I thought it was going to be. I was hoping for them to get a couple of rounds in there. I was rooting for them over the 71st, because we don't like the 71st round here. But no, it was a good match though. No rule breaks on any of the rounds from what I remember. It was just a good solid match.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they will have chances to play regiments more on their level.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So
it's rough when you go into a tournament such as this, where literally the first match you play is against one of the best regiments in the tournament. It's kind of rough in that way, but unfortunately everyone has to play everyone, and that's just how it works, right? So you just got to look forward to the next matches, and hopefully bring some dubs out.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll manage one or two at least.
Exactly. So who else do they have in their group? I think them versus 5E and them versus 1Y would be quite good matchups. The 1Y have a few fairly OG sort of members in there, like they have a few people from the old Second Hess in there. So I'm sure that I'd probably give the 1Y the edge over a reg like the 5TS, but yeah, it'd be nice to it'd be a nice matchup, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no guarantees, so they can always pull something out the back.
Yeah, definitely. Right, and then on to the next matchup. We had NR13 versus 5E. Now, this result was kind of what I expected, to be honest with you. The NR13 are very solid. Not only do they have good tactics, good leadership, they also have a pretty good melee, to be honest. Like, they have a good melee average for a German regiment. When you consider the fact that they're, like most German regiments, they're overshadowed by Dark Templars, band of ruffians.
Yeah, they're slept on a little bit, I think. Because I think a lot of tournaments they play with as many as they can get, but their core 15 is actually pretty decent, and can really give people a good go. So maybe we'll see some upsets. Who knows? I mean, it's a pretty. I'd say Group D is probably the most evenly spread group. That aside from maybe the 71st, I feel that everyone else there's potential there for upsets. So
definitely, and when you consider that 3 regiments go through to the playoffs, you can put an asterisk on both the second and third slot as to who might go through. Like for example, in the 13E versus NR13. NR13 can definitely pull an upset out of that and take second place in the group, 100%. So that'll be an interesting one to look forward to. NR13 versus 13E. I don't think they play them next week. I think they play them the week after.
I mean, that'll be
no, they play them on the last week. Yeah, no, that definitely would be a key match. They play them on the very last week, which means that the last week of the group stages, we're going to have a pretty big banger out of Group D.
That's a one to watch, that one.
Definitely. And then we have, well, as we was talking about, we have the 13E and 31E versus the 1Y. Now, a lot of people might not actually remember the 1Y. 1Y was a pretty decent little Russian regiment that was kicking around for a good fair few years, actually. And they took part in the first few seasons of EIC. I think they took part in all 3 of the last seasons, or at least 2 of them, from what I remember. And they were always a model regiment, never broke any rules, always pretty solid. So it was nice to see them actually come out of their little retirement and sign up to the tournament again. Which was nice. And but in terms of result, though, I'd say this is fairly expected. The 13E have a good stack of good melees in there. The Hiroshi and the other English goon squadders in there, so they're bound to take the cake from regiments like that in terms of like melee skill and everything. So I say it's kind of expected.
They've got a very, very strong roster. But the fact that they've only been formed quite recently could give other regiments the potential to upset them, because I mean the vast majority of regiments playing in here have been around for a year plus. So there's kind of an understanding. They know what's what, they know what to do, and they can react under pressure. But you never know. I mean, 13E can either be the regiment that gets knocked out in the first knockout stage, or it can be the regiment that wins the entire thing. It's a bit rogue, as Massman would say.
Yeah, definitely. So, right. We go full swing, Mr. GI. We're going full swing here. And I'm going to be putting it back to big head on the screen. And, well, when I look at your picture, that's definitely a big fucking head, isn't it? That's absolutely terrifying. But, yeah. So, full swing, we're going to be coming back and talking about the 45E versus 18th matchup, where the 18th took a 7-3 upset over them. That's definitely an upset, I'd say.
I mean, on the face of it, that's a huge result for the 18th. However, if you'd like to explain.
Right, so we're coming up to that segment that I know a lot of you have been waiting for, and we're calling it Ban Watch, right? And so there's a reason why I'm calling it Ban Watch. It's because every Monday, in the early hours of the morning, like I did this morning, I was up until, well, I didn't go to sleep until about midday today, and had a bit of a nap before the stream started. But I was on the logs and my ID database, going through every single match, every single roster, and making sure that people have been good boys. Now, Mr. GI, you've already heard the sheer atrocious numbers.
It's absolutely disgusting.
So, for those of you in chat that don't know and haven't seen the message that I put on the EIC group chat, I've gone through half of the matches so far. I've only gone through the German servers. Okay? And so far, 11 regiments and a total of 34 people were not on any rosters or infringed on the roster rules. That is ridiculous. I expected a big number. I was expecting maybe a dozen, maybe up to 20 would be a bit extreme. But 34 is a lot. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm going to be cracking down hard. And when it comes down to this, like, I consider myself fairly reasonable, most of the time, at least. But the problem is because there's so many people here, I have to make an example out of someone. And that's where it brings us back to the 45E and the 18th. You see, all roads lead to the end goal, gentlemen. Yeah? The 18th were the worst offender in the tournament on the first match week by far, with a total of 9 players not on their roster who were in the server. However, I will add an asterisk that 4 of those people that sat in spectator. I do check whether or not they actually played, obviously. I'm not a moron. So 5 people played in that match that were not on a roster. Now, GI, you might think maybe they just misinterpreted the rules. But let me just open up the EIC roster thread right now, and we're going to be speaking about these right now, okay? So I'm going to make it very abundantly clear to everyone what the rules are. Now, it is very obvious what these rules are, but I'm going to explain them anyway, okay? People may move freely between regiments during the group stage without a match ban, as long as they are added before the Monday weekly roster update. If added after, they cannot play until the next match week. Right? I don't know whether or not people are interpreting this wrong, whether or not this is a language barrier, but for example, if we go, we'll have a look at it now, guys. So if we have a look at the roster change that they did, where is the post where they did their thing? Here it is. So, for those of you that didn't have to put a roster up on FSC, you wouldn't know that the original roster submission deadline was on the. It's not on this thread. It's on the main EIC thread, I believe. Well, it would have been by the start date, the 8th. So, the beginning of last week. The Monday of last week, which is when we do the roster updates anyway, G. Yeah?
Yep.
Now, what is the problem with this post that you see here? Last edited on March 10th by Yusuf Khan. Right? What happened is, a lot of the players that played in that match were added retrospectively to this roster, which is not acceptable. You do not do that. You do not go back and edit previous changes, previous roster updates. Okay, when you go to update your rosters, you follow the format, and there's a reason why you follow the format. Because I'm not going to go back page upon page upon page to recheck your posts just in case you might have added more players. I already spend 10 to 12 hours every week going through rosters, going through matches, updating everything. I'm not going to add more hours on top of that just because you guys are lazy. It is not my responsibility to make sure that you update your roster. That is your responsibility, yeah? And this goes for everyone. I'm not just talking about the 18th here. This goes for everyone. The reason why I'm singling the 18th out, because unfortunately they were the worst offender. Yeah? So, do you think that's fairly reasonable for me to have to call them out there, G? I think we have to call someone out, and we have to make an example out of someone.
At the end of the day, it is the group stages. But the reality is you need to actually read the rules before you sign up to a tournament.
Exactly.
It's not just a suggestion.
Right. So, in terms of I should, before I go any further, I should also intimate that in this match between 45E and 18th, although the 18th had 5 people that weren't on their roster, the 45E also did have a player playing who wasn't on their roster. But the reason why I don't single them out and I don't mention this as such is because the player who wasn't on their roster was IV General Stefane, who we all know who Stefane is. He's been in the IV for like fucking 10 years. Ever since Mountain Musket. And he was obviously he was originally leading the 2E Grens before Dams took over. So I'm not going to hold them to it. I'm not going to punish the 45E for it because we all know that he was part of the regiment and we know it's an oversight. But if it happens again, then I will have to do something about it, obviously. We can't allow that to happen a second time. So, when it comes down to it, this result of 7-3, I'm going to be making an announcement on FSC as to what we decide to do with this once I've had a chat with both Maskman and Tardet, and as well as UG. We'll come to a decision about whether or not we want to maybe give them a draw or something like that. So, or whether or not we just take the win away from them. It's kind of hard to say, to be fairly honest.
For individual rule breaks in the first week, all we'll do, as long as they're not too heinous, we'll just message and essentially tell you not to do it again. But moving on from this week, as you should all have learnt by now, it won't quite so generous, and we'll start taking rounds or etc., etc., depending
Yeah.
on how many rules you break.
If it keeps happening, we're going to have to do something about it. So otherwise, if people learn they can get away with it, they're just going to keep doing it. So we have to do something. But so brings us on to the next part of Ban Watch. Now, Gi, I've got a bit of a quiz, a bit of a questionnaire for you.
Okay.
When we think about regiments, competitive regiments, like high level competitive regiments of NW, which regiments would you expect would be the least likely to infringe on the roster rules or play players who aren't on the roster? Obviously, you have 15th there. You have you would expect 45th. I haven't actually gotten to checking the 45th match yet, so you guys are off the hook for the moment. I haven't gone and checked.
I don't want to upset anyone. Should I just say a random regiment?
Go for it.
Okay. Oh God.
I'll give you a clue. Yeah, there's a bit of back and forth that goes on between these two regiments on FSC. One of them a lot bigger, and some might say a lot more racist than the other.
Oh my goodness! Is it 45th N and 92nd?
Oh, right, 45th N. No, you guys have been good boys. 92nd! You should know! You guys have been taking part in tournaments long enough. You should know how to keep your rosters up to date. 3 people!
3?
3 people! Now, I will add that one of them went in for a round and then came out because I think he might have realised that he wasn't on the roster and he shouldn't have been playing.
This is disband worthy. Comes out that regiment as well. It's disgraceful. 3 people.
But 2 people were not on their roster, and I have actually gone and checked they are on their FSC rosters. So why they aren't just on their EIC roster as well, I don't fucking know. But that is that is reality. There was 2 people on there that weren't on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you break the rules again, 92nd, we will be.
We'll have to crack down on it. Obviously, it was a 10-0 victory. Those 2 people, I don't think would have made that much of a difference. And I'm sorry to Priyabaz, but that is just reality. Yeah. But if it happens again, then we will be cracking down, and we will crack down harsh. Yeah. There's a reason why we're giving you a warning now, so that you learn for next time, right? So I'm going to be leaving it at that. I know, Peter. I know you have a lot of people. Yeah, and there's a lot of people to manage. There's a lot of people that fuck about with the rosters and everything else. But we need to be careful of this. Yeah, that's why I'm warning you now, so that it doesn't happen again.
Little word of advice: 92nd, 45th N. Make sure your mini siege recruits give you their GUIDs immediately. Just put them on FSC straight away. There we go. Easy.
The players who were missing were Peter. You're in chat, so I'm just going to tell you now. The 2 players who were missing were Robert Fleming and James McKay. I forget who those players exactly are. There were a total of 4 people in the server, but that includes Biazi, who didn't actually play. Yeah, but those are 2 players who weren't on the roster. I will just to add as well. I will be sending out messages to every single regiments. Yeah, R110. That's who one of them is. I don't know who the other one is. The name doesn't ring a bell to me. But yeah, just make sure it's better for next week, you know? That's it. We're not docking any points from you. This is not the end of the world. We're just telling you so that you make sure that you fix it, yeah? Right. MG, back to you, my friend.
Oh.
There was another regiment at the top of NW who I would like to say are a bit notorious. No, not 15th.
Oh, thank God.
Although I haven't gotten to the 15th match yet. Wait, have I? No, I have done the 15th match. I have done the 15th match. Yeah, no, I have. It was on Germany 1, and I have done Germany 1. So there you go. Right. And I'll give you a clue, Gi. It's a Russian regiment, and it may begin with a 9 and may end with a Y.
Ah, 96Y.
Now, to everyone that's in the chat right now, for those of you that don't know, over the years, it's kind of safe to say that the 96Y have been kind of notorious for possibly using what's the right word for it? Double accounts or accounts. Would you say that's kind of accurate, G? Would you say that has been intimated over the years? I'd say it kind of has. someone
On
like
occasion.
yeah, on occasion, someone like Mark Seal, for example, was quite notorious for using double accounts. Well, let me think of it. NWWC. That definitely didn't play any Germans, any Swedes for the fucking Ukrainian team, did they? But oh well, we'll move on from that. That's not what we're talking about today. 96Y, and you specifically, Descent. I know this is a little bit. I'm going to give a little bit of a proverb for everyone in chat, G. So there's a saying. I don't remember exactly how the saying goes, but the meaning behind the saying is, don't try to be smarter than someone who's smarter than you, because you'll get found out. You know? So, there was a certain member of the 96Y. Actually, there were two members of the 96Y, but one of them was worse than the other, so I'm going to single that one person out. One person of the 96Y joined the server 7 times using 6 different IDs, trying to figure out which one was the right one that had been signed up with. And you want to know what the funniest part about it, G? He stayed on the server with the wrong one! No, it wasn't Flusher. Right? And I shit you not, the best part, the bit that really makes me laugh, is he joined the server, and 2 of those 6 IDs that he used, the people who would normally use their IDs were already in the server! So the problem here, and for those of you that don't quite understand why this is a big problem, is because what this tells you is there is a real big problem within the 96Y with double accounting. Because if that right there, there's 4 fucking people who all have access to the same accounts and the same CD keys. So the problem we have now is we don't know who is real and who is not. So I asked Dasan earlier, I sent him a set of logs and I said, right, this player logged onto the server using 6 different IDs. I want to know who this player actually is. And you know what he said to me? What do you think he said to me, G?
I don't think he said anything. He usually takes like 2 weeks to reply, so...
No, we're not quite. So, the player in question was someone called Payne. Now, whether or not that person actually is real... Now, Desant did mention that he has signed them up to tournaments before, but the problem with that is that doesn't mean anything to us. Like, we've known for years that players within... like NWWC and whatnot have, been using double accounts and whatnot, have just been the same person using multiple accounts across different nations, And when we found out, we dealt with it, right? Mm. And now the problem here is, when I asked, right, who is this Payne person actually, what he said to me was, Payne is Payne! like a fucking ridiculous robot. It just didn't, you gotta think about it, guys, yeah? So my thing to Desant here is go and find out who this player actually is and come back and tell me who it is, yeah? Because the problem is, if I can't make a scapegoat out of that one person, then I have to make a scapegoat out of the whole regiment. We have to make an example of everyone. Because the problem is, we don't know how widespread this is within your regiment, and this is another problem. I am not the leader of the 96Y. I should not be doing your job for you. You should know exactly who plays for your regiment, which is ironic. Let's not talk about MRGL, guys. Fuck all of you. Yeah, that's the past. We're talking about right now. Yeah, he is 6 people. He is what's that Marvel character? Is it Legion, where he's got like 100 different fucking people in his head? Well, that's who Payne is. He's 100 different people.
The question is, are any of the 96Y members actual real members, or are they just alt accounts for people playing in other regiments?
True. Is White Knight in 96Y? That is a fucking great question. We'll have to find out, won't we? Find out next week on the NW Weekly Recap. But, yeah, so that right there, and this is what I was talking about with you before the stream started, G. And this is why...
Yeah.
Well, and this is why I said this one is probably the worst offender, in my opinion. Because the problem is, if you don't know who it is, then I don't really know what to say. You're gonna have to find out who it is, and that's it. Yeah. Because I have to punish.
That's pretty shocking.
I have to punish someone. Yeah. And for all we know, if I take you back to if I get away from big heads, take us back to the spreadsheet. There's a lovely tab known as banned individuals, which will be getting filled out even more later today. And the problem is, how do we know that this player isn't Obelix or Jojo? We don't. right? So this is the problem. You need to know who's playing for your regiment. Even if you're cheating, right? If you own up to the fact that you have cheated willingly and everything else, we can deal with it then and there and make sure it doesn't happen again. But the problem is, if you just pretend like you don't know anything, pretend like you're stupid, then I'm gonna have to treat you like you're stupid, and that is the issue we have here. Yeah. So 96Y, this is my message to you. Go and find out who that player actually is, and then we'll deal with it. Yeah. I'm not going to punish the whole regiment if you can find out who it is, but otherwise I'm going to have to dock points from you, because this cannot be allowed to happen. You're going to have to clear out that roster. This is ridiculous. Yeah? Would you say that's pretty fair, G?
Yeah, I also doubt that any of them are actually listening to this, so...
Oh, no, of course not. Yeah, no, I'm going to send them a clip of this after. Don't worry. When this VOD gets uploaded to YouTube, I'm going to send them the exact timestamp and tell them that's exactly what you need to do. And I'll also put it in writing as well, just because it makes it easier. Yeah. So, my little rant phase is over. We've been talking and chatting for a good 30 minutes already, G.
Yep.
It goes by quickly, doesn't it?
It does. It does indeed.
And I'm absolutely sweating balls right now. Anyways, right. What we're going to do is I'm going to bring up the main thread on FSC for EIC G, and then we're going to just go over who we think are the favourites and make our sort of predictions and everything else, if that sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
And then we will, for the World of Tanks lobby, yeah. Righty, so let me zoom on here, and then I'll get myself off Big Head.
I'm just reading chat, and the person that wants an interview with me for all the juicy homosexual details, that'll be a very disappointing interview, because there are no juicy homosexual details, but thank you for the concern.
Ricker, thank you for the IDs. I already unbanned you, you moron. Why don't you log on to your actual Twitch account? But, yeah. Anyways.
This is a super straight stream, I'm afraid.
This stream is the epitome of masculinity, okay? You know? So, I mean,
right.
look at my absolute... Well, you can't see it right now, but I mean, like, look at my beautiful face. I've even put a shirt on today, guys. Although I didn't make my bed, because that's just too much effort, so I thought, you know.
Yeah, can't try too hard.
Exactly. That's a bit too far for me. Anyways, righty. I'll bring up the main brackets, actually. Yep. I'll put one to one side and one to the other. And let's go like this. So, EIC overall is going to be a 9-week running tournament. For those of you that don't know, we have a full upper bracket and lower bracket win system, basically. And the way that it works for the final is the loser of the semi-final goes down to the end of the loser's bracket, and then whoever wins that gets to fight basically has to rematch. Well, yeah, they get a rematch against the regiment that's in the final. So
yeah, this shouldn't result in you playing the same regiment 3 times, as some people seem to think.
No.
So don't worry about that.
If that's what you think, then you need to use your eyes and actually read. Yeah, so all it will mean is if the regiment that goes down to the loser's bracket at the very end wins that match, then they'd have to play them a second time. But, I mean, that's a second chance. And at the end of the day, what that means is whoever gets to the final and whoever wins the tournament, basically, would have to have won twice in the final, basically. And that means that, you know, their victory is cemented. Nobody can take that away from them. They have proven themselves as the dominant regiment, and they can't fluke their way through it, basically. You know, like how 18E fluked that win in NWR Season 9, G. You know, yep. I've always got to bring it round and bring it back to my only pal mare that I've ever had. So, you know,
yep.
It's got to happen. I've been playing this game. I was having a look the other day. Actually, I've been playing this game for almost 11 years now, and I've won 1 tournament. But yeah. Anyways, all right. Group A. What 3 regiments do we reckon is going to go through? Now, I would have said 15th, 96Y, and CR.
Me too. Yep, me too. But I'd say 3PP now instead of CR.
I kind of agree with you there. I think with the CR losing against the 16th, I don't think the 3PP are gonna. I don't think they will drop those matches. I think they'll go through.
Yeah,
So I agree with you.
Yeah, they need to beat one of either the 15th or the 96Y now and win all their remaining matches, I'd say, if they want to go third.
Mhm. Got your pants on today. I'm wearing shorts, BLZ. Thank you for asking. They're very comfortable, actually. I do like
Jorts.
these. I'm wearing the jorts. But anyways, Group B. Now, this is probably, other than maybe Group D, I'd say this is probably the most interesting group for me. Because I would have put it down as 96Y, 45E, and 55th.
Yeah, me too.
But now I think that third slot could go to either 18th or 55th.
Yeah. I think aside from 92nd, all those regiments can lose to one another. So it could be quite a close one.
Yep. So yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. 92nd are obviously going to go through. The 45E is the main one that's up in the air for me. I like the fact that the 55th pulled out a win in their first match. I think that's definitely that's a good sign for them. 45E losing to 18th like that though kind of messes up my predictions really, so I'm not too sure. 18th disqualified, yeah, well, we'll have to see, won't we? We do have reserve regiments in the 2LR and the 10Y. Anyways, Group C. Now, there's a bit of a trend here, which tends to be that the first three regiments that are on the list in the groups tend to be the ones that you'd expect to go through. I layered it that way.
You should have muddled them up.
Yeah, I should have. The problem is when I was obviously doing the seeding, I forgot to jumble them, didn't I? But my bad. But either way,
embarrassing.
There's a little bit.
The official regimental rankings list right here.
But so I would have said 45th, 33rd. But the third slot is interesting to me. I think it could go to either 77Y or 19th. And I think on a good day, the Polish guys in the 17PP and the FKG could also pull a win against any of those regiments there, except maybe 45th.
I'm backing my boy Gaz. He'll make it second, or maybe even first. Who knows? I believe in Gaz.
Alrighty. Group C is the hardest.
Apparently 45th then beat 33rd 7-3 today as well. So.
Oh, there you go. Was that for EIC? Was it? I didn't see.
Yeah, it was. I think so anyway. But yeah, that'll be 45th then. I'd say we'll win that, and then maybe 77Y.
One second.
Yeah. Although Gaz does struggle leading against regiments that are better than him, as they did lose to the 18th today. He is also messaging me angrily.
I just had to time someone out there. Yeah, none of the racist shit in chat, please. None of the Al Qaeda bullshit. Yeah, otherwise you're just getting fucking timed out immediately. Yeah, this isn't the debate stream where there was hundreds of people on there and I can't really keep an eye on it. Yeah, just keep it out of the chat. Right. Anyways, Group D. Now, Group D was the most interesting one in my opinion. Because other than 71st, any one of these regiments could pull a win against each other on a good day.
Yeah.
I think the NR13 slightly above, but
yeah, it was worse before. By the way, before we muddled it up again, Group D was like a death ring. It was pretty stacked.
Yeah. You mean the first who did we swap around? I think originally it was 7PP was in there, weren't they? It was 7PP and 25.
17PP.
That's it. 17PP were in there over the 5E, I think, or was it the 1Y?
Yes,
I don't quite remember. Yeah.
I think some Y might have been in there as well. It was pretty much a completely stacked group with
they were actually
with good regiments. It was pretty awful, but I mean it's better now. But I think the first in that group will be quite the it will be quite a good challenge because 71st, 13E have something to prove. NR13, they've been around longer than both of those regiments, and like you said earlier, they've got good players, good leadership. It's going to be a really interesting group, I think.
Definitely. No, I agree completely. And like I was saying earlier, on a good day, any one of those regiments really, even like the 5E or something, could pull a win against the others. The 5E didn't have a great time against, who did they play? Was it NR13? Oh, wait a minute. Where's my results? Who did they play? I've kind of forgotten already. NR13 played 5E. They did play 5E, so it was right the first time. Yeah, I think the melee was kind of a lot more one-sided than I thought it would be, but it was still pretty even, though. It was still pretty good. So I think a couple of the rounds definitely could have gone the other way, and then it would have been a much even more even scoreline, like a 6-4 or something like that. It ended 8-2 in the end. But yeah, no, definitely. But in terms of the regiments that we've said that we expect to go through, so which ones would you say are going to make it to the semi-final/final?
I really couldn't say, to be honest, because I'd say there are about 6 regiments that could make it. Obviously, I'd always back the 15th, and I'd likely also back the 92nd. But outside of that, it's kind of a toss-up between 45th and 71st, 13E, 55th, 96Y. I mean, 96Y will always be in the last stages of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
As they somehow always survive. They're like cockroaches.
Yeah,
but no,
cockroaches with 7 different accounts, apparently.
Maybe that's why they always survive.
Yeah, maybe that's why they always survive. But yeah, right. When it comes down to it, I've seen a lot of people intimating on FSC and just sort of in the chat rooms and whatnot that 15th are like the de facto winners already and stuff like that. Looking at groups and whatever, it's not even remotely true. At the end of the day, this isn't a group fighting tournament. This is a 1v1, and even if this was a group fighting tournament, it would still be a good toss up at the end, to be honest with you. But in terms of 1v1s, 15th Wire relies on a third-rate leader. Russian, you're getting banned from the Steam group chat in a minute. G's seen it all. But yeah, no.
No, 1v1s are definitely a lot more of a toss-up. There's no guarantee. In the past 2 years, I think 96Y have won. Who else has won? 77Y won a few years ago. I think 59th came second in a tournament, or third. God knows.
They came second in the last season of EIC. They came second to the NR12. The NR12 knocked the 18E out 6-4 in the semi-final, and I forget who 59th played in the other semi-final. It might have been like 15th or something. I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
77Y won the Champions League thing, I guess.
We won. Yeah, you did. You won Cade's thing. Fucking hell, that format was awful though. But like, fair enough for winning, but it was so bad. There's a reason why Champions League formats don't work on NW. If everyone was the same skill, then it would make sense. You could just pull the names out of a hat and seed them that way, but it doesn't work like that here.
Look, I think in regards to who will win the tournament, I wouldn't be surprised if the 15th didn't win it. I wouldn't be surprised if the 92nd didn't win it. I think it really is like... I think a lot of people get it in their heads that maybe the 15th is just going to win everything, or we can't play against the 92nd, but it's all about what happens on the day.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And yeah, when it comes down to it, I think in terms of what we would call, if we were to say, right, in terms of Tier 1, let's put Tier 1 down as the 15th and 92nd. And the reason why I'm going to put them down as the Tier 1 is over a regiment such as the 45th N. Not only do they have that melee skill and a good average like that, they have the leadership as well. Maskman is very unproven in terms of a 1v1 tournament format like this. And this is a long format as well. Well, I'll say that. It's not that much longer than EIC would normally be. EIC is normally about 7 weeks. This is 9 weeks. So it's only going to go on for a couple of weeks longer. But, like I said, in my eyes, Masterman's a bit unproven. Now, we've seen that he has knowledge enough to write a, a 1v1 guidebook. But whether or not that actually translates to playing in-game, we'll have to see.
So yeah, he's very good at running for CR and losing that, and then somehow coming out with a victory.
Coming out with a dub, yeah.
Yeah, and also the 15th did beat the 45th N 9-1 while the 45th N were camping. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
I think the stream's...
Just waiting for the angry responses.
Yeah, I think the stream's having a bit of a shit at the moment, guys. Just give it a second. There you go. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. My internet just suddenly fluctuated for a second and everything went down. Let me just... I need to bring the chat and everything back open again because of that. It killed everything. Just give me 1 second. Anyways, right. That's that. So, yeah. I think... I wouldn't be surprised if 15th and 92nd have to play each other twice in the final, but I also wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, 15th and 92nd got all the way through to the semi-final, 15th or 92nd got knocked down to the lower bracket, but then got knocked out by someone like 71st and 96Y. There is a lot of opportunity in there, and it can happen. So, we'll have to see, really. And on that note, Mr. GI, is there any other topics you'd like to bring up for today?
No, not really. I think we've this has been like an hour, so
we have kind of exhausted this a bit more than I thought we would, to be honest. I was thinking maybe only 30 minutes.
I think the last thing to say is if 45th N had 77 White Gaz leading them, 45th N would for sure win this tournament. And anything less than a final place for 45th N will be a disgrace. And that's all. Good luck, Massman.
Fair enough. Anyways, I'll quickly bring us to what we're going to be talking about next week. So, my guest next week is going to be the one and only White Knight of NW, known as Tardet. We're going to be going over a couple of quite interesting topics, to be honest with you. We're going to be going over esports in Mountain Blade in general and how we can sort of progress NW and make it a little bit more streamlined, a bit more fun. And we're also going to be talking about bringing in together like a stream team to be casting matches and other things like that. Where's the FSC shit talk part? He's talking. I know what he's talking about. You know what he's talking about, G, don't you? He's talking about the NW hot takes. Now,
oh crap! I forgot about that.
Yes, the NW hot takes. Now,
here's a hot take: 45th N are the racist ones, not the 96th.
True.
Oh yeah, Gaz's one is melee is luck based.
Melee is luck based.
Potentially true.
I mean, it kind of is in a sense of it. All it takes in a 1v1, for example, is going up a slight undulation in the ground, and then you lose all your momentum in your stab and just poke, and then you get fucked. You know, that is just unlucky, isn't it? Little things like that are fucking annoying.
15th Wire is a glorified GF team. That's another hot take.
That is a hot take right there.
Yeah, we might do that another time.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to do that another time. We've been going on for too long now already, and you can already tell we've run out of things to talk about, so we'll come back to that. But yeah, no, next week's just going to be a good banger, I reckon. We're going to be going over quite a few topics that, in terms of NW itself, I've never really heard anyone talk about, although it's a conversation we've had about native quite a few times. So I reckon it'd be pretty interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some really good native streams over the years. In
like Bladecast like this, and other things like that,
yeah.
Battle for Bucharest, or whatever it was called. Yeah, so I'd like to get together a stream team and have a look at that, but that'll be for next week. We'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about the Tardet. He's someone that's quite knowledgeable in that sense on the native side, so we'll have a look. So Gaz sucks since G sucks, very true. But yeah, but in terms of the format of the show itself next week, it's still going to be the same. We'll still go over the results of the last week. Then we'll talk about the next week's matches and who we expect is going to come out with a dub in those and everything. We've already done that for this week. So yeah, in that note, that is it really. Anything else you want to sign off with, Mr. GI?
No, it was a pleasure. Pleasure being on the number 1 NW stream. Biggest Mountain Blade stream of all time. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
You didn't see it, G, but I just hit a fat dab when you said that. Right, anyways, thank everyone for joining, and we'll be catching you on the next one.
Yep. Goodbye, guys.